okay, she's not here because she's in Erasmus, so that's why she was invited, but she's in Erasmus. The name of the title is Acrobat, and it's dedicated to the circus world. So this is another way of understanding performing arts. There are many genres. Circus is considered inside the performing arts, okay? So dance, any kind of dance, modern, historical ballet, ballrooms as well, puppets, what else? Many other things, okay? So this is her work. She actually is an acrobat as well. I mean, it's something that was very close to her life, to her behaviors, to her habits. And that's why she chose to took photos inside the circus. I mean, I think it was possible for her also to contact the acrobats, you know, to talk with them. And so this is another example. As you see, she writes also the techniques, the basic techniques, and she took the idea of this photo project taken from this poem Acrobat by the Polish poet Szymborska. Okay, so you can make also references of this kind, you know, literature references, for instance, poems references, films references. You can use many different tips, suggestions. Ok, usciamo da questo.
For example, I show you the work of Eiko Shoei, the Japanese photographer with the white rose in the mouth, because that work was related to a Japanese poem and was an interpretation by the photographers of that book. So you can also take an inspiration from a book or from a novel or from a show or a movie that really inspires you and that you really appreciate. Okay? So enlarge your world and try to be brave coming outside your comfort zone. Okay? Sometimes it could be a challenge also.
I can also add that, as you are seeing, you can take pictures in your country as well. I mean, sometimes it's easier for you. Maybe you know people there, you know, simply. So, for instance, in this case, it's a project by a colleague of yours from Istanbul. And she has a really, I think, you tell me, but this is my opinion, a very designer concept. Also in the editing, you remember? It was not edited like a book.
It was a folded document that you can open. You could open all the book with different pieces.
Like a mosaic.
A collage.
Yeah, collage.
A composite of different pieces. Every photo was a piece of the collage that when you are going to open, every piece of every photo was a piece of the different collage that all together composed the final project.
Okay, so her idea, if I remember well, was to create a map of some cultural important locations in Istanbul, and she took photos of those places and created like a map, let's say for a tourist. So we have a description and also this roadmap with pictures. And also, and I think she appreciated the architectural images.
Very straight, very well composed, aesthetic, very straight lines, very well composed, regular, elegant, minimal. Because, I mean, photography as a language. And every sector and every field of photography has a different language. In fashion, you will use some elements. In documentary or street, you will use a different approach, or because of the quickness, for example. In studio photography, you are going to use another different attitude. So it depends on your taste. But also architecture photos has its own languages. And one thing that is very, very important are the lines, like in architecture, not tilted lines, not disturbing elements in the background, not curved some details or elements of the locations. But we'll see later. But just to give some input to you, okay, you're not obliged to make an architecture photo report, don't worry. But if you are going to take an architecture photo reports, remember that always, even if you are going to publish your work on your personal social account, at least in architecture photos, at least one line, horizontal or vertical, must be straight. Because it's a problem on how your brain is going to record the image.
Thank you. And here I can add also that since the course is focused on performing arts, in performing arts, we scholars give a lot of importance to the audience. So that's why I think your colleague decided to take photos of the audience leaving or entering this place. Okay, so audience can be also a topic, and a quite interesting one. Okay, so this was the example. Now we have others.
During the course, we are going also to have two practical exit. One will be probably to a theater. Another one could be an exposition, a photographic exposition that we are going to visit together. So on that occasion, you can warmly ask to bring your own cameras or also your mobile, don't worry. And we are going to take pictures together, and I'm going to follow you step by step. So I don't know if some of you are already practical with manual photos, shutter speed, aperture, ISO, so on, but even if you are not used to them, don't worry, don't panic, we'll see together.
Okay, this is another example dedicated to architecture. I think it's the auditorium, remember? And also the choice between black and white and colors is
on you. We'll see also this one, but other input, black and white and colors have completely different languages, okay? And evokes different situations and different feelings.
Okay, this is.
I remember something very important to tell you about this.
Okay. And so you see, this is the auditorium. Maybe, I don't know, maybe many of you maybe haven't seen it yet. It's one of the most contemporary place in Rome, dedicated to music but also dance, theater, and there's a very important bookshop, cafeteria, things like that. And so it's quite an important place for the culture in Rome. So she took details that are, they're somehow curious. So this Photoshop is there is a big varieties of pictures. That's why it's so interesting.
You can see that there are global image, general images, and also images on details, because you can also proceed by deconstructing your subject and going in focus on what interests you. That is not necessarily the whole location, the general view, but maybe something that you are going to discover because it interests you and could interest also your audience. You should find a way to interest your audience. Otherwise, after a while, I get boring. Like when you scroll something on your mobile, after 3 seconds, okay, seen it, go on. You should learn how to catch the attention of your viewer.
If I remember well, she's a architecture student, this one. Mm. That's why she chose this topic, okay? And also the choice of something void, it's interesting.
The relationship between empty and full spaces is not casual. It's a decision. The balance, the black and white, the use of colors. There's an important book by Joel Meyerowitz. Joel Meyerowitz is one of the most important still living photographer of street photos. He was very famous because Joel Meyerowitz and the Meyerowitz. A Question of Color. And the book is A Question of Color. No. And the book, you can aggiungici. No. Aspetta. Sopra, aggiungici. Sopra, A Question of Color. Ecco, è già uscito il libro. A Question of Color. Prendi una qualsiasi. Immagini. No, aspetta. Immagini. Oh, ci siamo. Why I talk about Meyerowitz? Meyerowitz, that is one of the most important living street photographer. He was also called to take for 3 years the photos, the reports of Ground Zero in New York after the fall of the Trade Center, of the World Trade Center. His seminal book is called A Question of Color. He has taken the same photo in color and in black and white with 2 different cameras to show how the same subject, the same composition and the same photos taken in black and white and taken in colors are able to transmit different range of feelings and different ideas. Yeah, take out, for example, one. This is, for example, it's a seminal book where he shows how can work in our brain the language of colors and the language of black and white. Some images are completely different and transmit you a completely different feelings. The mood board is different. Take these photos. These photos in colors has an effect on you. It's a basic, simple photos of a car covered by a blanket, okay? The same photos taken in black and white transmit completely different things. And so on. And it demonstrates how your brain, visually speaking, works when you try to detect the ideas and the mood board of an image. The online
Yes, thank you.
because ok, thank you, perché la dobbiamo condividere, credo. No. Okay, many thanks for having interrupting with this important news for all the line student. Okay, can you see now?
Yes, thank you.
So the photos that I was speaking about was the first one. Facciamo così. The photos of the car is the first one in color and the other in black and white. Again, color and black and white. Color and black and white. Think of not on basically on the composition, but what you feel when you look at something. Because our surroundings, our reality is in color. We'll see in color, at least you have some problem to your retina. But generally speaking, and no matter if you are suffering from some problems or troubles to your eyes, our reality is in color. Grayscale and black and white is already a form of abstraction. It's a form to go in an essential, to focus on the graphic ideas, to cut off many frills, many fuss, and just to focus on something that probably in the real world you don't take time to see, you don't take time to look at it. And also another important thing, sometimes you can feel frustrated because a photo doesn't tell what you wanted it to tell. Why? Probably because the memory of the experience is still fresh. But when it all fades after a while, and when you're coming back to look at your work, maybe you can make a distance and look at them clearly, and then start thinking, okay, how can I make a pair for that picture? How can I make it play with many other photos? And that's theirs that starts your storytelling. And there that starts your story. Different combinations, different orders, also the same elements can transmit different ideas. Think of the editing of a movie. If you start from, have you seen Pulp Fiction by Quentin Tarantino? But not only Pulp Fiction is the first example that I think of. If you start from the end of the movie, you'll transmit another idea of the development of the narrative. If you are following a linear and a chronological order, you are saying something different. If you jump from a piece and then you come back to the end and then come back to the middle of your narrative, it's already a different thing. The connection are different, and the way in you record, the way you deconstruct your work is different and tell something else. So just to show you that the same photos taken in black and white and colors tells different things. Some subjects are better in black and white, others are better in the graphic, abstract, and metaphorical attitude and approach of grayscale and black and white respect to the colors. If you are Chinese, for example, red, gold are colors that are evocative of something, that have roots in your culture and have a meaning in the culture. The expression to feel blue is connected to a color because that color transmits you immediately from whatever part of the world you come, a melancholy, sober, gloomy attitude. Whereas if you work with pink, red, yellow, you want to transmit something else, positive, energy. And you know what I mean? Okay, that's what I have intention to demonstrate here.
Okay, let's go back to the students photo project. Torno qua.
Usciamo, questa gliela chiudiamo, questa gliela possiamo chiudere.
Quale?
Questa qui gliela possiamo chiudere e
Dove
ritorniamo
sta?
all'ultima.
All'ultimo.
Sì. Ecco. E torniamo al lavoro dei ragazzi che ci avevi già salvato là. Vi facciamo vedere.
Questa l'ho visto prima, ecco questa.
Ah, via la fu. Ah. Allora vedano se. Another completely different work of another student.
Online students, can you see? Online students?
Not actually.
No.
We lost it again.
We are going to take you. Gliela devi portare là. Eccola. Now you should see. No, sta già in condivisione. Chiudi questa cosa. Chiudi questa cosa. Ok, vedono. Ok, vai. No. Ecco qua. Chiudi questa cosa. Ok, chiudi. Cerca di dare la condivisione. Chiudi questo. Ok. Sì, siamo già in condivisione, già vedono. Ecco.
Okay, this is a completely different approach, which is more connected to the idea of creating a performance in everyday life. Okay, this is a very, let's say, refined work. And we will see that there's a kind of ironic approach, but that's something else. It's very difficult. This is a very difficult approach. She was brave to be able to do this. And it's connected, as I said, to the idea of performance as something in our everyday behavior. So I won't suggest that each of you do something like this because it's very difficult, okay? So if you're gonna think about something like this, we will talk about it. If we understand that you cannot do it, we will be very sincere and we will direct you towards something easier, okay?
Only one thing. Of course, you are allowed to use every software that you are able to use. Lightroom, Photoshop, Adobe Express, every sort of software that you're able to use or do you want to experiment, okay? Because specifically this will realize with Lightroom.
So she describes her input, her suggestion, of course, the Last Supper, okay? And she wants to transmit the idea of a supper in an everyday moment of an Erasmus student in Rome. We suggest her to create a real performance from this, because I think it's a wonderful idea. Perché non va adesso? È bloccato.
Riscendi sotto, rimettila sotto, esca da questo, vai e ricaricalo.
Non va, non prende.
Se interrompi la condivisione, rimetti la condivisione. Se fai interrompi, rimetti.
Proviamo.
Adesso dovrebbe riprenderla e la rimetti da capo. Ok, vediamo adesso, dovrebbe caricartelo, perché quando ti viene quella finestra che non so che è.
Scusa, vediamo se va avanti.
Sì.
Ok. You see all the symbols, but also the particular perspective, I think is very interesting. And the use of colors.
The use of colors, but also, are there Dutch people here? Because, okay, you have a long, long history and artistic heritage of still life and indoors paintings, like the Delft School, for example, Vermeer, Rembrandt, and so on. And she has brought also has personal artistic roots with many different references to her artistic roots. In this case, the tradition of still life paintings in the Dutch school, full of food and food stuff. Tables, vegetables, salads, fruits, and so on.
I think that what Professor Pompei is expressing is that the fact that when you take a photo, or even if you paint, of course, or anything you do, you have like unconsciously many references that come from your culture, okay? So, of course, this course is specifically rooted in Western culture, of course. But Western culture has a variety, of references. So in this case, it's very clear that as she was telling, there's something connected to the Flamand, how you say Flamand? Flemish, yes.
And painting, of course.
Painting.
That's why also the name, The Last Supper. It's clear from the beginning that she had, the student had painting references, but in a current, translated in our everyday life, in our current and contemporary times.
And of course, ironic. Okay? And it's done with nothing, it's done with nothing. A table, a blanket, food. Okay, so this is another very interesting example, but very difficult.
Because the student arranged all the settings, involved the partner and the friends in the photographic shooting. It was something also ironic and funny. I mean, you should amuse and take your time, but also, I mean, you should be able to make fun of your work, make fun of your job, make fun of whatever you do, because otherwise, after a while, you risk to get tired. And if you are the first to get tired, imagine of the other people.
Okay, another one, completely different, but very, let's say, performative, very powerful, yes, with just one person. And it's a portrait reportage, no? And also a declaration, let's say, an assessment, and yeah, a statement at the beginning. Don't let the chains of society dictate how you are. So here we are something in between performance and photography, because we are going to talk about it. The connection has become very, let's say, normal, starting from the 60s, okay? So many photographers left the camera and left to be behind the camera and went in the front. And so it started. And there are many cases of that, okay? So I think that in this case, this student wanted to follow that path, performance art, okay? In this case, you have to find, in his case, he had to find a dancer. I mean, you can ask to people, friends that you maybe know, to make a performance in front of you. You know, this is something that you can choose. Yeah, di nuovo.
And you can see also the caption. In this case, Canon 5D Mark III and the shutter speed, aperture, and ISO. Technical captions. Have you seen Joker, the movie? Because this report reminds me of Joker. Also, there's the new episode, Folie à Deux, that it was presented in Cannes last festival and in Venice. There's not a strict distinction between cinema and photography. Many photographers are directors, and many directors are photographers too. And on the set, the director of photography is the second most important role after the director, because he chooses and select the composition of the frame and the order of the storyboard with the director. The lights, the main sources of lights, the mood, the editing, the color arrangement that you can have with different software, and so on.
I think we have the last one. But there were really many very interesting works. We choose some because they are different, you know, they offer you different perspectives, and also because they were coming from different countries. So, for instance, this one, te lo ricordi l'ultimo che ho fatto?
Teatro.
Yeah, This is specifically dedicated to theater.
Per aprirlo?
And he was able to contact some performers or the company of this theater, and she asked, I think she was a girl, she asked to the permission to take photos in the backstage, which is not so common, you know, because people are very, actors, performers are always, they want to keep the secret, you know, sometimes, somehow. And so I think it's a very interesting reportage, and rooted, of course, in her culture. So the performers that were making their makeup before entering the stage. Details again.
You can see title of the picture and techniques on the captions. The place is not repeated because it's always the same location that is written at the beginning of the statement.
And again, here you see the audience, theater audience, because there's no performance art without, with no audience, okay? So the audience is absolutely fundamental. Nice colors.
Imagine these photos in black and white.
This one is...
This photo is in black and white doesn't work in the same way. I think that it's obvious.
Okay, this was the last one.
Voglio vedere una cosa io.
Sure.
Sempre per la scena. This is a powerful color, full of color and full of energy works on theater, but you can also have a completely different approach, maybe a little more traditional, but very strong and powerful at the same way. E qui sei chiamato te a parlare. Professoressa Bertolone has realized the most important book about the author, the most important photographer of still living, of the tradition of the Italian theater. She has realized a book on him. She has worked with this photographer that is well known with his name, but it's very famous in Italy, Tommaso Lepera, that has photographed in Italy every theater, in every city, every company, every actors of the theater, of the history. And is still keeping on photographing, even if he is 82 years old. So very young inside. Because you need a lot of energy. And so if you want to show the work in which consists your book, it's on you because...
Yeah, maybe we can try to invite him. We'll see. Okay. Yes, as Francesca was saying, you need a lot of energy, exactly, because especially the theater, the stage photographers, normally all the photographers, if they don't work in a studio, they travel a lot, they carry heavy suitcases.
I'm not
So, and you go up and down. And in the case of a stage photographer, you work, of course, late in the night, because normally performances are in the evening. So you really need a good health, and you have to love that job. He has created an incredible archive, and I think it's probably the most extensive stage photos in the world. Yeah, it's more.
Biggest archive of theater, the biggest he has created during his career, the biggest archive in the world of theater photography. So, he has very consistent body of work.
Yeah, 50 years of work. He started at the beginning of the 60s, and he is still at work now. And there are more than 4 millions of shoots.
I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, he shooting maybe, he says, about 5,000 performances.
In film, film now is working in digital, but in film, that means that every time you have to come back to develop your own film in the dark room, to wait for them to see the results at the end. So it's not now like a digital photography. Okay, we'll shoot, see immediately, and if you don't like or if it doesn't work, you can erase. When you are working with or if you are still working with film, you have to wait, and it's a part of the beauty and the charm of. This is the book of that Professor Stolone realized about Tommaso Lepera.
And he loves much more pictures in color, but I don't know. He decided to take a picture in black and white for the cover. Okay, but he very simply states that a performance is full of signs, and colors are essential signs in a performance. So if you take a photo in black and white, in black and white, you just lose informations. That's very basic. So that's why he decided to take photos in colors. That was not fashionable at that time, because as Professor Pompei was telling you before, normally photographers, also stage photographers, preferred to take photos in black and white because it sounded artistic, into brackets. Okay? But it's untrue somehow, and in the case of a performance, you lose informations very easily.
But also if someone of you loves to take black and white photos, please always remember and keep in mind that no matter if you're working with a mobile or with a digital professional camera, please take the photo in color and then turn them in black and white, because you will have, of course, more accuracy, more resolving power, more info, and more sharpness. And above for that, maybe in the future, you can decide to have that image also in color. So from color, you can pass to black and white. But if you already take a photos in black and white, you can't come back to colors. So if you're going to take a photos in black and white, please stop and think. I'll convert it later in black and white, but at first step, it's strongly advisable to take it in colors.
Yes, exactly what he was telling me. Yes, exactly. This comes from the experience, I think. Okay. So, shall we go to your doubts and questions? Somebody was asking me before about Photoshop. Who is the guy? Can you repeat the question for your colleagues? Taking photos from a bank of photos, you mean? No, I didn't hear you. Can you speak louder, please?
Some elements from other photos
Cioè, si può prendere delle foto già fatte e fare...
Do you mean if you are allowed to use Photoshop? That was the focus point. If you are allowed to use, or if you intended, your question was intended to, I take a photos from the internet, for example, and then I'm going to work on it by Photoshop. No. Yes, if you're able to use Photoshop, you can use Photoshop for whatever you want. Layers, different layers, recropping the frame, erasing disturbing elements like a pole or rubbish bins in the background. Yes, it's better. It's always better if you try to do the best when you are going to take the photos, because you are going to spend less time in front of the computer. And sometimes Photoshop doesn't make miracles. I mean, sometimes it's better after 1 hour in front of the computer to go out and take the photos again if you are not satisfied. Because Photoshop, Lightrooms, and software, editing software, generally speaking, are good if you are beginning from a good photos. But doesn't make miracles to transform a crummy or a quite plain photo in an amazing, striking photo. I'm not talking about AI, okay? AI like Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, DALL-E, or stuff like that are different things, okay? But if you're going to take a photo, sometimes it's always better to start with the best that you can at the moment of taking, and then to edit it in the best way when you come back home. But if you're not
Sorry for my interruption. We can't see any presentation if you're sharing.
Non stiamo facendo nessuna presentazione ora.
We're not making any presentation this moment anyhow.
Did you have a question
Okay,
about
thank you.
I guess what I was asking was if we, for example, we take a photo of a table, an empty table, we need an apple on the table, we can take a photo from the internet of an apple and use Photoshop to copy the apple on the table, for example.
No, for example, the girls, the Dutch girl with the Last Supper project took some images on Google, so stuff like that, and then she reused that, editing them with Lightroom. So you are allowed to do it. Yeah.
Which scene? I don't understand. Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain. I think this is a very difficult way of creating this photo project. Okay, so I don't suggest it. If you are so brave, you can try. It's considered a performance, exactly, okay? It's a performance, the everyday performance, let's say. But it's not easy. It's much easier if you go and take a photo in a museum, if you take a photo of an instrument, of a street performer, at the auditorium of, or I don't know, Teatro Argentina, buildings. It's much easier for you. But if you want to try, yes, you can try. Okay? Again, if we see that the results, because we are going to check, okay? If we see that it's too difficult for you, you find, just impossible, we say, okay, choose another topic. We advise you, okay? So we leave it free at the beginning, and then we decide if it's possible for you or no. There's something else that we have to add. So the field trips, the fact that in 2 or 3 lessons, you are requested to present each of you, okay, a midterm photo project. This midterm photo project has no grade, no assessment, okay? It's just for you to train yourself. And we hope, and normally it works, that you feel free, because you will be asked to come here and introduce your photo project to all the class as the students, your colleagues did before. And we will tell the things that are good, things that you have to change, to make it better. Maybe an advice on the topic in itself. Okay, so we think maybe October the 30th, you are requested to come here with this midterm project. So write it down, October the 30th.
Yeah, the 30th. Need presentation of midterm projects on October the 30th. In the lesson, October the 30th.
And in that case, the topic doesn't have to be necessarily connected to performing arts. Can be just anything, okay? Your cat, or I don't know, anything, just anything. It's a training. So you can choose any topic. Of course, if you want to do it connected to performing arts, it's okay, but you are not obliged. Is that clear? Yeah, sure. Yeah, it has to be presented like this. Exactly. Yeah, because maybe, again, another thing we have to add is that we don't give rules for the editing, but you have to present us a story, a storytelling through photos. So not just one photo, okay? We don't need one photo, but a series of photos. That's why we were presenting you. You understood that there are many photos in the project, and we suggest around 20 images. Around 20 images. It means 17 is okay, 25 is okay, but 2 is not, is impossible, and 50 is impossible. Something in between, okay? So you have to be able to create a structure, to create a strategy, a visual strategy.
Let's see. Okay. And remember that the selection is always something very troubling, because sometimes, that's why before I told you that sometimes you can feel frustrated when you come back looking at your pictures, because the emotions and the energy that you wanted to transmit maybe wasn't exactly the same that you see at your final work or in your final pictures. But generally speaking, the selection is always something troubling, even for a professional, filmed, well-known photographer, because you feel attached to some images, and even if they are not perfect, even if they don't arrive in the exactly way that you wanted, it's troubling to dismiss them. Haven't sometimes some of you has experienced stuff like that? I mean, you feel attached to your images even in the archive of your mobile, and when you are going to erase them, oh no, I don't want to cancel them, I want to keep it. But sometimes you may sacrifice something in order to develop the general idea, to sacrifice something when in the frame in order to focus and to transmit more energy focusing on your subject, or to have a completely different disorienting approach, the line in between, suspended line that I was speaking before. It's on you. A whole bunch of options in your hand, but make fun of them. Make patience, because it will arrive. If you're getting boring, the audience will get bored.
So, yeah, and also remember that you have to find a title, you have to add captions, following the rules that she introduced you before. So some techniques, basic techniques, and the rule, the magic rule.
And in any case, narrative references, music references, movies references, other photographers references, personal references. Do you play music? Do you love write novels or poems? Bring them. You can also create an immersive and multimedia storytelling with different parts. Okay, because photography is part of an artistic language connected to the main subject of performance and theater, but also connected to the music, to a book that was very striking for you. Let me discover something of your culture that I don't know, that I ignore. Me and your other colleagues.
Yeah. No, no. Title, yes. Yeah. The statement, it was a choice of that student. No. You can choose it. It's something that you can add, you know, becomes richer. But I mean, yeah, sure.
Of course, yes. Are you able to manage films? Tell me about something. What sort of black and white, color? Is an informal chat. So now we have exploited. Now you have your head full of ideas, full of notions. So now release, breathe, and an informal chat for whatever doubts that you have. And so I was curious to know what sort of film do you use when you're generally working analog? Can you explain to your colleagues why it's different to work with an expired film? Sorry, do you know that the film has an expiration date like the food? And after a while that expires and they are not the same that the date before the expiration date. So what the effect? Yes. So you are nearly a professional photographer. Do you develop on your own? Not colors is impossible on your own, but black and white do you develop so you have a larger? Okay. Focal lens, okay. Okay, magnifying and then, okay. So if you are able, you can also scan, use a scanner for the old vintage film and frames and transform it in digital. You're allowed to do it if you're able. Or if you want to experiment, I mean. Any other questions? Yeah. So you're able to mix analog and digital photos, but please pay attention to mix black and white with colors. Because since we have said that our different brain references and transmit black and white and colors different messages, if you are going to melt them together, the reason should be very motivated, not just because I like it. Because otherwise it risks to be disturbing black and white with colors. It should be a very consistent, there should be a very consistent reason to melt them together. For example, some photo editors, if you in the future you are going to deal with a photo editor for a commercial or editorial work, some photo editors oblige you to work or in black and white or in colors. Doesn't publish your work if you match together black and white and colors. So also for your future, keeping it in mind.
So I would like to go back to the field trips. Yeah. We are trying to organize a visit. We would like to bring you to see the exhibit, which is just around the corner here in Arapacis. But it's not, I don't know, it's difficult because the ticket is quite expensive, I think. So we can't oblige you, you know. to do this. So we are trying to find something
Free.
something free. Yeah.
I mean, very expensive, we mean in order of 12 or 15 euros, and not 1 million. Okay, but since you're already paid to study, we are going to find something that could be free. Or at least the cheapest thing that we can find. Okay. Also, because you are a student, all of you are under 25 years. You are young. All of you are younger than 25 years. Like you. Who is older? Because some museums in Rome have a free entrance for students until 25 years old. And if you are older of 25 years, the tickets is not free anymore. That's why I would just ask you.
It's not a privacy invasion, you know. So we will let you know, okay? But one visit is, almost sure, and it will be in December, the 12th of December, which is Thursday. We have the permission to see a rehearsal of a performance, which is, by the way, done by students, university students. And we can go there and take photos of the rehearsal. The theater is inside the main campus. I don't know if you know where it is. Exactly, Aldo Moro. Exactly. Inside there's a theater that has been restored and opened again very recently. It used to be a famous theater, okay? And so this is gonna happen in December 12th. And in that case, the lesson on Wednesday is canceled because we go with this visit, okay, on Thursday. But I will tell you for sure, but it's almost sure. And we will like, as we said, to organize another visit. We are trying, but it's not easy to find something free or cheap.
We'll do our best to find something that fits for you.
And we advise you to take photos also. I already said that there's the Roman, come si chiama? Il Festival del Cinema, the movie festival in Rome in a few days, okay? There's also the very famous festival organized by Villa Medici, the French Villa Medici, the French Academy in Rome. And there's also a white
Notte Bianca. There will be also the what we call in Italian La Notte Bianca dei Musei, the White Night of Museum. That is generally around the end of October, and it's a special night where full of the events, full of shows and performances. Are performances free for everyone, or at least at €1. €1 at the entrance, in many different locations of Rome, museum, theaters, makeshift theaters, and we'll communicate you the exact date so that you, if you want, you're able to get there and to see something interesting, maybe to catch some ideas to develop your midterm projects or stuff like that, or also just to have fun. Okay.
What else?
Any other questions so far? Any other doubts? So, che ore sono? Facciamo vedere qualche altra cosa o chiediamo le robe?
Io volevo farti vedere una cosa che ho capito che questi non saranno la convenzione, quella la convenzione UNESCO, quella...
È corsa, l'avevi preparata mi pare.
Sì. So, I would like to end this lesson showing you an interesting document. Oh, questo lo togliamo. Dove stava qua? No. Questo lo togliamo. Questo.
Meanwhile, the professoressa is looking for the document. What sort of photography do you like? The black t-shirt man over there. Yes, exactly you. And sorry for the finger pointed to you. What sort of photography do you like? First of all, do you like photography? Okay. And what sort of photography do you like? In the reality. But some of you use AI to produce generative AI to produce your photographic stuff? Huh? Okay.
Okay. Just to finish the lesson, I would like to introduce you some to give you a frame for what we are doing here. Maybe some of you know this test, which is very important and very famous. Did you study it in your university or high school? Did you ever heard about it? The BESIT test for the safeguarding of the intangible cultural heritage. Do you know anything about it? Okay, so I thought it was interesting and maybe could allow you to understand better, you know, with the concept, a deeper concept of what we are talking about. And since you are going to be architects or most probably designers, I think you have to understand the philosophical and ideological categories at the basis of many things we talk in this course. So this is a text that was released in 2003, so many years ago, by UNESCO. I think all the Europeans know what UNESCO is. It's the International Committee in Europe. And this is a PDF that you can download from the website of UNESCO. So it's very easy. And it's in many European languages. Of course, I chose the English one for this course. And it was revised in 2020, but it's mostly the same. So you can have a more detailed look if you want, okay? But I want to show you the category. What we mean when we say intangible cultural heritage. First of all, the first date in which it was released and signed by all the countries, it was 2003, which is not so, you know, it's not a long time, it's just 20 years. And the recognition of the fact that the intangible cultural heritage was important is just, you know, a few years, just a few years. And when we talk about intangible cultural heritage, we talk about, I read from the article 1, from the article 2, which is the definition. For the purposes of the convention, the intangible cultural heritage means the practices, representations, expressions, knowledge, skills, as well the instruments, objects, artifacts, and cultural spaces associated therewith that communities, group, and in some cases individuals recognize as part of their cultural heritage. This intangible cultural heritage, transmitted from generation to generation, is constantly recreated by communities and groups in response to their environment, their interaction with nature and their history, and so on. So this is something that for the first time, it's dignified, let's say, by a convention. So it's something that for the first time is recognized as something important to be safeguarded. But is it clear what we intend by intangible cultural heritage? Means, for instance, the traditional instruments, traditional dances, traditional songs, languages, artifacts. And if you think at the photo projects you saw today, you understand that they are exactly focused on the cultural, intangible cultural heritage. Specifically, the photo project of the student talking about the tailoring, okay? It's an artifact that is transmitted from one generation to the other, important for that community, creating an identity to that community, and is something at the same time intangible. When we say tangible, it means that we can touch it. You know, architecture is tangible, a statue is tangible, even a book is tangible. There are arts that are intangible. Okay, so this is just to give you the idea of the general framework in which we are now, okay, in this course. And I think this is very important because we normally don't take in consideration the law, the legal aspect, because this is ruled by the UNESCO. And when you go out from university and you are going to find money for investments or for your projects, that's where you're going to ask, you know? And you're going to ask because there are these laws that are general frameworks, okay? And you have to be aware of that. Otherwise, you move around and you don't understand that there's a framework, which is a philosophical framework, but also a legal framework in which we are moving. And so I just finished the last lines. The intangible cultural heritage is defined, is manifested inter alia, means between others, in the following domains. Oral traditions and expressions, including language as a vehicle of the intangible cultural heritage. Think, I was making the same example in another class. Think, for instance, you know, migration. When people migrate, they leave their language, their food, and everything, you know, and is maybe it's gonna be lost forever because it's something intangible. That's why it's transmitted. That's why it's so important to create a way to safeguard this. And I think that the designers have a great power in this because they can create the safeguarding. It's very, very important. And second, performing arts. Here we are. Okay, performing arts are in the domain of intangible cultural heritage. Social practices, rituals, and festive events, for instance, also the religious events. Knowledge and practices concerning nature and the universe. Traditional craftsmanship, and it's what we are talking about, and also other domains, okay? These are just a few, okay? So that's it. I wanted to, I would like you to be aware of that. Otherwise, you lose your, your rights. Yeah, your rights. Simply, yes, simply.
Simply your rights. Be aware of this because it could affect your work. Maybe not now, but in the future. Be always aware of your rights because make you feel stronger. Any question?
I will upload it if you want.
That's all.
Okay, so otherwise, see you next week. See you also online. I mean, see you is it's a joke, but see you online students too.
I'm going to upload for every one of you the PDF so you can download whenever you want.